Welcome to the family reunion of the Jacobs family. Here we have Grandpa Cecil, Billy, and Jane.
Hello, family. Do you know what I saw on my way over here? A few white teenagers beating up a black teenager. This town is so racist. I don't even understand how you guys could grow up here.
Well, Jane, it was just a generally accepted way of life back then. I don't think it's a problem. To be honest, I don't understand how y'all can stand up for those people.
I agree. My folks always told me that Negroes were trash. One time this Negro was going to trial, and this man named Mr. Finch was defending him. And my folks told me that Mr. Finch was a disgrace, and that I shouldn't associate with those kinds of people. And one day, his daughter Scout went to school with me. Hey everybody, Scout over here. Her daddy defends Negroes.
You can just take that back, boy! You gonna take that back, boy?
You gotta make me first. My folks said your daddy was a disgrace and that Negro should hang from the water tank. Scout's a coward.
Okay.
Everyone in Macomb, especially my parents, thought that blacks were bad, so I just grew up thinking like them. Now that I think of it, I didn't know exactly what discrimination was. In the 3rd grade, my teacher asked me to bring in a current event. I brought in something about Hitler persecuting the Jews. I think this is a bad thing, and this is my current event.
Very nice, Cecil.
Why don't they like the Jews, you reckon, Miss Gates?
I don't know. Jews have contributed to every society they live in and are a deeply religious people. Hitler doesn't like religion, so maybe that's why.
They're supposed to change money or something, but that ain't no cause to persecute them. They're white, ain't they?
Young Cecil believed that whites shouldn't be discriminated against. He was taught that blacks were inferior to whites and only knew about racial discrimination, leading him to believe that all discrimination was against blacks.
Grandpa, the way you guys lived when you were a kid was really stupid.
Jane, don't sass your grandfather like that. It's just the way things were back then. Blacks and whites just didn't really mix. Why, I remember when they desegregated the schools. That was a difficult time for all of us.
In Billy's sleepy little town, huge changes were happening, all because of one case, Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that separate public schools for black and white children were unconstitutional. This did not go over very well in the South. For years after the justices made that monumental decision, Southern states simply ignored the Supreme Court's mandate. However, eventually all the schools were desegregated when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed. This act outlawed discrimination of all kinds, desegregated all public places, and enforced the desegregation of schools. Although this act did not have much influence during its time, and not much was done to enforce this act, it paved the way for future civil rights legislation.
Hey son, how was your day?
Hi, Dad. Today, the black kids came to our schools.
Negroes in white children's schools, what is this world coming to?
It's okay, Dad. Everybody ignored them, even the teachers. Why is it bad?
Because they may start to influence you. You may start to like them.
Old Miss Crawford down the street says that the only thing worse than a nigger is a nigger lover.
Yes, that's right. The worst thing about Negroes coming to your schools is that you're better than them. They may start rubbing off on you. You just stay away from them.
I will, Dad. They won't hurt me, will they?
No, Billy.
Why can't they just leave us alone, Dad?
Billy was also greatly influenced by the opinions of his parents and neighbors. It was hard for him and many others in the South to adjust to the new desegregation laws and treat blacks as equals after many years of discrimination. Many people continue to be racist towards blacks because a new law isn't going to change people's opinions so easily.
I still don't understand why they let Negroes go to our schools. They're a bad influence on our children, and we are far superior to them.
Dad, don't say that. I think that desegregation has greatly improved my school experience. I go to school with a diverse group of people, and some of my best friends are African American.
Jane, I'm surprised you don't hate blacks, even after that whole fiasco with Harvard.
A few years ago, Jane applied to Harvard University. Her SAT score and grades were all exceptional, and she was a well rounded student. She was the varsity volleyball captain at her school. However, she was rejected. Her African American friend, whose grades were not as good as Jane's, was accepted.
I hate affirmative action, not blacks. I certainly don't hate my friend. In fact, I'm pretty proud of her. She's on her way to becoming a lawyer.
Affirmative action is when an institution or organization tries to improve opportunities for historically excluded groups. In Greta versus Bollinger in 2003, the Supreme Court upheld the affirmative action admissions policy of the University of Michigan Law School, a race-conscious admissions process that may favor underrepresented minority groups was constitutional.
African Americans have been at a significant disadvantage for a long time, but that does not justify affirmative action. African Americans are given more opportunities at the expense of other races. This favors them based on their race rather than their achievements.
Back in my days, blacks couldn't even go to universities. I think we're giving them a big favor by allowing them to attend universities, but they shouldn't get more benefits than ordinary people. One person can't be more equal than others.
Yeah, blacks caused Jane's failure to get into Harvard.
Why are you so hard to convince? Blacks did not ask for affirmative action. The government just passed it. Should not be blamed for this.
Alright, settle down now. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It's just hard for, people like us to change their ways after so long.
I agree. After being born and raised in a society that discriminated against people based on their race, it's hard for me to treat minorities as equals.
Yeah, minorities have always struck me as being untrustworthy.
Maybe they don't seem trustworthy because they don't trust you. After being discriminated against for so long, I think they have the right to be worried that someone as old as you is gonna still harbor some negative feelings towards them.
I think you've made your points. How about we just go help the rest of the family prepare dinner?
Okay.
My, how times have changed. When I was young, we wouldn't have to help. The slaves could do it for us. Now African Americans have been able to vote for 58 years and are able to apply for higher education without being discriminated against for 51 years. It seems like only yesterday that whites were at the top.